The Roman Republic from 263 BC to 163 BC saw a period of extraordinary expansion. During the Republic, to serve in the army, it wasn't enough just to love your country. The Romans felt serving in the army as a privilege. That meant rich and poor landowners would purchase their own weapons and volunteer in the army. As those soldiers returned home, many would come to find giant slave plantations. Unable to compete with these vast estates, many soldiers were forced to sell their land and become wage farmers or move to the city of Rome. This was the world Tiberius Gracchus was born into. Tiberius realized that widening inequality and destruction of the common farmer would be disastrous for Rome. If you were a citizen during the Republic, chances are you belonged into two groups, either the patricians or the plebeians. The patricians being old and usually wealthy families, and the plebeians being everyone else. The plebeians voted in the tribal assembly. Rome did not believe in one man, one vote. Instead, a citizen was put into tribes, and those tribes would vote. You were placed into a tribe based on your geographical position, much like modern-day congressmen. However, that would be way too simple. You also inherited your tribe from your father. These tribes had to be present in the city of Rome to vote, specifically on the field of Mars. Once on the field, the tribes would be able to vote on laws and elect minor officials. Tiberius ran for one of the 10 tribunes, the branch of government that drafted laws to present to the people. There, Tiberius introduced a land reform bill that would privatize public land and enforce an older law that stated landowners cannot own over 500 acres of land. Tiberius's bill was vetoed by a fellow tribune. Tiberius's subsequent actions would have enormous effects for Rome. Tribunes could not vote on laws. They could only draft them. It was the people, or much more accurately, the tribes, that could vote on the laws. Tiberius summoned a motion to dismiss the tribune who vetoed him, and a motion to vote for his land reform bill. Both of these motions passed. This had never been done in the history of Rome and caused much panic in the mainly patrician Senate. The Senate, who was in control of the budget, refused to finance the bill. Tiberius, who clearly did not take the hint, made another unprecedented decision and ran for a second term. Another big Roman no-no. During a political rally, Tiberius felt uneasy and motioned towards his head, a sign for his bodyguards. The Senate took this as a sign for a crown and assassinated Tiberius and dumped his body into the river Tiber. Sadly for the Senate, there wasn't just one Gracchus. There was another, Tiberius' younger brother, Gaius. Even worse for the Senate, Gaius was significantly much more extreme than his brother. So extreme, in fact, it made Tiberius seem moderate and conservative. During his tribunate, he would continue passing reform bills. However, just like his brother, he pioneered some new political tactics to ensure his agenda was enacted. Remember how it was the people who voted on the laws, not elected officials? Well, Tiberius realized that if you mix violence with mob rule, you could ram through your political agenda at insane speeds. While Gaius didn't invent utilizing mob rule to ensure one's agenda passed, he sure did use it to its fullest extent. The Senate, now foaming at the mouth, saw Gaius as a much larger threat than his brother. This was made worse when Gaius attempted to pass a citizenship law that would give Italians, not just Romans, citizenship. This was a bridge too far, even for the plebeians, and when Gaius ran for a third unprecedented time for tribune, he lost. After the election, Gaius shrugged. He returned to his villa in the countryside, where he grew artisan grapes, donated all his profits to the local poor, cured cancer, ended crime, and... Senator? Yes, Marcus. Gaius is marching down to the Senate with an angry mob. Well... In response, the Senate issued martial law, and Gaius subsequently committed suicide. The sudden end of the Gracchi brothers marked a pivotal moment in Roman history. Though the brothers' intentions were noble, their misguided methods left a tragic legacy of political chaos, societal upheaval, and the unchecked concentration of power. The far-reaching consequences of their reforms would ultimately contribute to the Republic's eventual downfall.